Alrighty, so welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. It's a really interesting topic that Bhavesh is going to share with us and the history as to how it came about. I know in one of my clinics, I do use some tinnitus scales that help provide the breakdown of our body composition, and people love it. And it's really good to see the way people are losing weight also. But this gives us a remote version. So thank you so much, Bhavesh, for coming and sharing with us what you have produced. And if you could start off by telling us a little bit about who you are and your background as well. And guys, what we'll do is we'll open up for questions at the end of Bhavesh's presentation. So please, if you think of any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or just write them down, and we'll have very casual conversation, open discussion at the end. So thanks again, Bhavesh. Again, thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Can everyone see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm gonna do it a bit blind because everything's decided to go onto the wrong screen. So I can't see anything, but I can see the people, so that's important. That's the most important part.
Bhavesh, can I just interrupt? Feel free to close down, reshare, and work out if you like.
Nah, that's fine. I can make it work.
Sorry
We're all good. So thanks very much for having me, Helen. As Helen mentioned, I'm Bhavesh. So I'm the founder of 3D Measure Me, which 3D Measure Me is an app that allows people to track changes in their body shape and body measurements using their phone. So let's go. Oh, there we go. Okay, sorry, everyone. You're going to have to bear with me. There we go. Whenever anyone's trying to lose weight, health and fitness professionals generally prefer to use body measurements and photos instead of weight to track progress. They do this because as soon as you mention weight, people immediately feel judged or labeled that they're overweight, obese, which leads to anxiety, depression, eating disorders. But not doing anything about it creates a big issue because then you start dealing with heart disease, diabetes, strokes, and that can be very challenging for a lot of people. Now, as much as people prefer to use body measurements, they're actually really hard to do. But there are a lot of positive outcomes, health outcomes, which you can get by using body measurements. Because the first big thing is that it removes the stigma associated with weight. So I don't know if you've ever asked any of your clients or anyone that, oh, what's your weight? That never goes down well with absolutely anyone. But if you tell people that, oh, your waist or your abdomen is 100 centimeters, people just kind of accept it and they move on from there. And it's like, okay, what are we going to do about it? The other nice thing about tracking centimeters and measurements is that it's actually a lot more responsive to change, which helps increase motivation and accountability. So people will generally decide, okay, yep, I want to get healthy, I want to lose weight. So they'll decide that, yep, I'm going to change my diet. I'm going to start hitting the gym. And to track all my progress, I'm going to hop on a scale. And the first thing they'll do, they'll hop on the scale and say, oh, okay, I'm 90 kilos. I need to do something. So first week or for the first week or two, they go all out in the gym, 3-4 sessions. They'll eat healthy, reduce their portion size. And at the end of the week or 2 weeks, they hop back on the scale. And the scale says 90 kilos or 89.7 kilos. And they think, all that work and I've lost nothing, or I've lost, 250 grams. It's not worth it. But the reality is what's actually happened is they've actually started losing body fat and probably putting on muscle with all their gym work and that. But the scale doesn't actually take into account that body composition. So that number of the kilos that you're getting there is just actual mass and doesn't take into account that composition. So it's a bit deceiving when you do that. Now, what happens is if you actually start taking body measurements, like, at the big areas like your hips and waist, as you start losing that fat and you put on the muscle's a lot more dense, which I'm sure most of you all know about that anyway. But Because it's more dense, you actually start losing centimeters pretty quickly, which is really motivating for people because they'll have done their 2 weeks work. The scale may say they're still 90 kilos, but they've probably lost, like a centimeter or two off their hips and waist, which as soon as they see that, they imagine that, that's the amount I've lost. I can see that, and it's really helps improve their motivation when they're going through with that. But as we mentioned, the body measurements are almost impossible to measure accurately, consistently, and quickly. And when you're doing it, you can get access to 3D body scanners which do body measurements, but they're really expensive and they're really hard to find. So that's where we started when we built 3D Measure Me, which it's an app that allows users to track their body shape and changes using and their body measurements using their phones. It's really easy to use. So once people have downloaded our app, using the app, you just upload 4 pictures, your height and gender. Our AI systems process everything, and just over a minute later, you get an avatar back with over 70 body measurements. And from our initial internal testing we've got over 99% accuracy on core body measurements. So we're really happy with the progress that we get made on that. The other nice thing is that you'll see in the phone screenshots that you've got there, the avatar that you actually see represents your body shape, and it's actually an accurate representation of your body shape, but we actually make it look a little bit generic. So as much as you do identify with the shape, it still protects your privacy, because you don't want photos of, avatars which look very photorealistic of you going out and, being visible on your phone or anything like that. All of our AI systems were actually developed in conjunction with a professor from Murdoch University, who's actually a published author and an expert in this area. So he's very well known in the whole computer vision and AI side of things. So we're very lucky to find people in WA who could actually do that and give us the level of accuracy and solve some of the very difficult problems in trying to get these photos and that sorted in there. Couple of other benefits which are really handy. There's no uncomfortable touching. I don't know how many people have been measured up or have measured up other people, but it's a very invasive process. Some of the personal trainers and that we've been dealing with, they actually have clients who will tell them that, yep, I don't want to track my progress because I just don't like that measurement and I don't want you touching me for that. And it's kind of hard to track your progress then if you've got no actual measurements to track or nothing you can actually see. And, it's very demotivating if you think, I'm doing all this work and we can't track any progress from there. The other nice thing is that you can use it at your convenience. So if you've got a customer with you, it's nice and easy. You can do it. We've got 2 options, one with a friend and one in selfie mode. So with a friend, you can do it with your customer straight away, or if they want to do it by themselves at home, they can just do it in selfie mode and they get instant access to the results and it'll all process by themselves. Selfie mode is really easy. I mean, you'd just be putting it on a table, take a little jug or water bottle or something, put your phone against it and you click on selfie and it's got timers and everything built in. So it just does it all for you and makes it nice and easy. The data we generate is not shared with anyone. And that is not our model. We're not interested in sharing that data with anyone. We're not trying to commercialize that data. It is there purely for you and your customers and to help them. The only person who can share it is the person who creates the model, which would be your customers. So they may choose to share it with you because then that'll help you keep them motivated and accountable, and you'll be able to see the graphs and track their progress, and you'll be able to see the avatars, but nothing else from there. Privacy was a key thing when we're dealing with photos and with this type of data in there. So we wanted to make sure we did the right thing and the best thing by the end users. How much does it cost? It's free. So At the moment, we're still doing our beta testing and working out some bugs. We've done a lot of testing already, and we've worked out a lot of bugs and fixed a lot of things in there, but there's just so many. I think there's over 14,000 different types of Android phones alone. So we need to spend a bit of time and let people actually use it and get some feedback from there and make sure we cater for as many people and as many phones and systems as possible. So while we're doing that, it's all completely free to use. But even once we do pass that stage and we do implement our revenue platform, the cost is going to be $1.50 US per profile per month, which is roughly about $2 Australian a month. And with that, you can scan as many times as you want. Most people will tend to do, a weekly scan or fortnightly scan. Otherwise, it just becomes too much data for people to manage in that. But just to provide some context around that, if you did like a 3D body scanner, which actually does body measurements, those cost between $30 and $100 per scan. And this one you're doing it $2 and you can scan as many times as you want. We've deliberately made it really cheap because we want as many people to be able to use it as possible. Getting access to this data should never be an impediment for people who are trying to improve their health. One of the things that a lot of businesses have actually requested is that they wanted to offer 3D Measure Me as a service and pay for it so that their customers didn't have to pay for it, especially with some of the personal trainers we've been speaking to, the naturopaths, dietitians, and that they wanted to offer 3D Measure Me as a service. So we've actually built that in. So when the revenue platform does come out, if Helen's customers share their data with Helen, Helen would be charged the $2, and both Helen and her customer would get the full history tracking and the full avatars and everything, the full access to the apps. If they decided they didn't want to, your end user can just simply pay the $2 themselves, and they'd have full access to whatever they need to do, and it's not shared with anyone. It's their choice how they want to do it. It just depends on what their privacy needs are at the time. Yeah. The biggest thing we are finding so far is that people do it and they don't take good photos. And what happens at the end is that the company is like, oh, it's not very accurate or it's not working. We've got the instructions in the app, how to use it. But what we've done is we've actually created a great little tutorial video, which we've got up on our website. You watch it once, it's really easy. It'll give you all the instructions and what to do and all the tips and tricks to get the best results. We've also linked that tutorial video into our app directly. So if people are doing it for the first time, they can just press the button and watch the video straight away. But a lot of stuff is just very simple common sense type things, like we're trying to get body measurements, so we want to be accurate. So wear fitted clothing. If you wear a baggy shirt, it's going to hide a lot of things and it makes it hard for the system to actually determine what your shape is underneath the baggy clothes. If you've got long hair, tie it up in a ponytail or a bun. And that simply helps with getting the neck measurement, which actually helps feed into our body fat percentage as well. Stand in the A pose, and we just use that one pose where it's just standing up straight, arms slightly out to the side, and feet shoulder width apart. And then we just turn 90 degrees for each photo, for the 4 photos that we take. And just make sure your body fills most of the screen. It's no use, if you're standing 3 meters away and you're like that big on a massive phone screen or something like that, it's just going to drop the accuracy in there. And make sure your whole body is visible, everything from, your head, your arms, your feet, because if we can't see it, we can't measure it in there. Have a plain contrasting background. If you go there wearing white clothes and you stand against a bright white wall, it's going to be very hard to make out your body shape from this. So wear something contrasting and, not a wall which is full with pictures or heavy patterns or anything like that, which is going to make it a little bit harder for the computer to determine your body shape in there. Make sure it's decently well lit. Most rooms with any lighting or natural light will be more than enough for what you can use. And just keep the phone as upright as possible. anything slight angles and that, as you're taking in that, it's fine. If you're leaning against your jug or something, or your bottle, that slight angle is fine. Just none of those, like selfie angles or anything like that, which it's just going to decrease the accuracy and won't work as well. But I think that is about it from me but I'd be more than happy to answer any questions because I'm sure there will be a few coming through from people.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bhavit. I think I pronounced your name incorrectly. Sorry, I put the pronunciation on. I went Bhavesh, but it's Bhavish. Sorry.
Yep, no, I get a lot worse than that, so it doesn't really worry me anymore.
Oh, I'm so particular in saying people's names correctly, so I apologize for that.
No, all good.
Okay, guys, feel free. I've got some questions. Feel free, guys, to unmute yourself and ask any questions that you would like, that you feel comfortable to, or write them in the chat. If you want to keep it more confidential, you can just send it directly to me and I can ask the question confidentially as well. So please feel free either way. While
And
people, yep, go.
sorry, and even if you don't think of something now, feel free to get in touch later, because I'm sure as you go through it, you test it, if you try it or something yourself, and that there'll be, oh, how did this work? Or that doesn't work right, or I don't like this, or what can I do? We're happy to get any feedback or, any questions I'm happy to answer as well. So feel free to reach out afterwards as well.
Thank you so much. And Bhavesh, please feel free to put your LinkedIn or contact number in the chat because people can access that quite easily as well.
Yes.
And they can directly contact you with any inquiries personally or professionally as well. I will totally testify and agree that taking body measurements with a measuring tape in the clinic is a logistical nightmare. I've had people gain and lose 2 centimeters in a month, and like it was just unrealistic. And I even had a measuring tape that you use for someone's height, and I marked where to put the measuring tape even. And yeah, I just gave up in the end. I just said, wear an outfit from home before these kind of resources are available. So yeah, well done in producing something so thorough and everything you're thought of, confidentiality, accuracy, has been really, I'm very, very impressed because it's the first time I've seen the presentation as well.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's one of the things. I mean, the whole idea initially started from fashion, and that's where my background is, and that's where we kind of started from. And I used to deal with like a lot of returns and that as a retailer, and it was while we're doing that that we realized that nobody knows how to measure themselves. And even when I started and I did it, I would go like for a chest measurement, I'd put it in there, you pull the tape measure and you pull it too tight, and suddenly you start losing. So if you pull it too tight, in a half centimeter would change a circumference by 3 centimeters.
Ooh.
When you're actually looking. So it's a massive difference. And even then, when you're looking at it, to get it absolutely, perpendicular to the ground is really, really hard. So most of the time it'll tend to sag a little bit as you go to the back, which actually decreases the measurement again. So what's nice is that because we're actually measuring those avatars, we can position it exactly how we want, and we can make sure we get it perfectly perpendicular. So if you take a same chest measurement, it'll probably be slightly different to ours. If we told you exactly where it was, the measurement was like for the chest measurement, we'd say, okay, in line with the nipples, going all the way perpendicular to the ground, standing up with arms slightly away. If you did that, you'd probably get it pretty close, but it'd be out probably by, a few centimeters in that. But that's purely because the tape measure may be up slightly, down slightly, the tightness you've pulled it with, whereas ours, we know that it's on the avatar. There's no pulling tight or anything. It's just directly around the outside, and we get exactly the measurement that we need. And we can repeat that consistently, which is kind of nice.
No, it's very impressive. And the price point is extremely reasonable.
Yeah, it's one of those that we just wanted to make it, we want as many people using it as possible. And that is, it's not only for health and fitness, because we want people to get as much value from it. So they may start initially using it health and fitness, but say, 10 weeks down the line, they've lost a whole lot of weight. We want them in future to be able to use oh, okay, we're going to do online shopping, or we're going to the shops. We want to scan a barcode, or we're going to order something, and it's going to give us the right size from there. And it'll take into account any of those changes in measurement. So we know that you're getting the right size. By the same token, in future, we'd also like to work with insurance companies as well. So that, if you've got your health insurance with them and suddenly you've made a change, if you choose to work with them using this app, then we want you to get discounts from that as well, because you should see the benefit of it. So we want as many people and using it, and we want to give as much benefit to the end user as possible with that.
I have a practical question, might be an annoying one. Apologies in advance. You mentioned about having a plain background. The image that was shown on the screen, there was a bit of busyness in the background. That's not an issue as long as the contrast of clothes and background is enough.
That's it. And, we're saying a plain background, but exactly what you saw in there, that works perfectly well. People have got little things. Where it becomes a problem is, they go through and they're wearing heavily patterned clothes, and then you're standing against a wall with covered in photos or pictures and artwork and things like that. That becomes a problem. It just makes it a bit harder. But if you've got decent contrasting clothes and that on, we can make it out. And plainish, even your background there would be more than sufficient for what we need.
Wonderful. Well, on behalf of everyone, I'd really like to thank you for your time. Your presentation was very clear, very easy to follow, and answered all of my questions but one, just me being me to ask that one question. So thank you so much. And you've got your LinkedIn profile in the chat. So with the recording, that will be available as well. So if you have any question, guys, please feel free to connect directly with Bhavesh, and I'm very easy to contact and lovely to talk to on the phone anytime as well.
Thank
So
you.
thank you once again. Thank you everyone for jumping on tonight, and we'll be back next month with another guest speaker, which is not organized yet, but it will be.
Thanks, Helen. Thank you, everyone.
Take care. Thank you.